basement. Everything appeared to be normal. The super's workspace, the furnace, everything you would expect to see in the basement of a residential building. As you went deeper into it, you got deeper into the world of dog fighting.
Breaking news, dozens of dogs pulled from a Bronx basement late today. Canine treadmills and exercise equipment, illegal dog fighting training facility.
We're told that around 50 dogs, mostly were discovered in the basement. At least 2 people were arrested. Police believe the suspects were breeding the dogs to fight.
Once the NYPD and the DA's office executed the warrant and secured the scene for us, I went in with a couple folks from our staff and began a walkthrough and really now begun to realize the conditions that these animals were held. And as you walked closer to where the dogs were housed, you actually walked past the fighting pit. And that really brought it home, seeing the pit where those dogs, were fighting for their lives. The injuries we've seen, typical dog fighting, you see a lot of scars, old wounds, and as you saw the animals come out, you see the white marks on their front paws, their faces. Those are all scars. Seeing those animals in that situation was hard to look at, and knowing why they were there was difficult. You can see that they live a very hard life, and this experience of coming out into this world was new to them.
At the temporary shelter, dogs went through a process where we tried to evaluate their ability to potentially be adopted and to decide how we were going to get them to a state of adoptability, what was the best treatment plan. It really was, very hard to see them, dogs that were unaccustomed to leashes, unaccustomed even to a food bowl, unaccustomed to people interacting with them. You could see this by their fear. They would express that fear, to see or be involved with anything at all. And to see them come as far as they have to the point where we're able to walk them on a leash, where they're happy to see and interact with humans. This is what I work for. This is what I strive for. Seeing dogs make that leap from really terrible circumstances and to see them to the point where
I think when people think about dog fighting, they think about the actual act of minutes, the 60 minutes, the 90 minutes of the fight. But I would imagine that the part of being a fighting dog is not the fight. It's the time in between the fight, living in isolation, on these chains, in really, really sad situation.
We're here today to announce that federal criminal charges have been filed against 2 Kansas City men who are alleged to have been involved in multi-state dog fighting events. The criminal complaint alleges that the defendants owned as many as 60 dogs, mostly pit bulls, that they trained and they took to various fights around the state and the country. We are very grateful to ASPCA for their agreeing to house and care for these dogs. They have provided a place, veterinarians, and animal helpers to assist us with these 70-some dogs that we now have in our possession, and we truly appreciate their involvement.
The morning, it was snowing, it was cold, came over the ridge, and these animals were living unprotected outside. It was a very eerie, kind of haunting place. And what really sticks out about all of them is how excited they were to see us, and how friendly they were, and how much they longed for, the human touch that wasn't, somebody screaming at them to fight.
Oh, who's this little baby, huh? Who's this baby?
I'm extraordinarily excited for these 100 or so dogs that will never fight again, will never be bred to fight again. But I also know that it's a drop in the bucket. That dogfighting is everywhere. It's pervasive. It crosses socioeconomic lines. It crosses lines. It's urban. It's rural. It's all over this country. And I know that as a society, we need to take this more seriously than we have. And we need to enlist the resources of law enforcement around the country to end this barbaric practice.
Seeing the yard, just seeing the row after row after row of dogs, you obviously knew it was a huge yard. It was going to be a huge dog yard.
Dogs chained to heavy log chains, tethered to dilapidated dog houses. The distinct dirt circle around each one of these dogs, just inches apart from being able to reach, which continuously keeps them ramped up and trying to fight with one another as they're protective of their food and their limited space. And that's done, really just to help keep these dogs in condition and to keep them aggressive towards other animals. Organized animal fighting is a felony in every state in the United States, and sadly it's really very prevalent today, much more than a lot of people realize. Animal fighting goes on in many communities around the country. Sometimes it's backyard or street corner dog fighting, but most of what the ASPCA really gets involved with and pursues is organized animal fighting, which is not only one of the most heinous forms of animal cruelty, but it's also associated with a lot of other criminal activity, and the people involved in illegal dog fighting are oftentimes very dangerous criminals. The ASPCA is committed to putting an end to dog fighting because it really is one of the most horrendous forms of animal cruelty. These dogs are put into a pit and forced to fight one another, really for their survival. These fights often last an hour, sometimes can go as long as 2 hours. Dogs are maimed and mauled and serious medical injuries, and oftentimes don't survive the fights. And if they do survive the fights, sometimes they don't survive the damage that has been done.
A lot of dog fighters believe it's a cultural thing. Some of them even equate it to hunting. It's like a privilege or a right they have to actually hunt their dogs and to fight their dogs. They'll tell you that the pit bull has been bred to fight, and that's what it loves to do. The dog fighters use in justifying putting them in the pit and fighting each other. August 23rd,
was the date of the seizure. But this had been an investigation that we were engaged in for a little more than 2 years, and had been planning for months.
Once the scene is made safe by law enforcement, search warrant has been served, and they'll ask us in to handle the animals. We have animal handlers, we have forensic veterinarians that are there to examine the animals right away. We have a forensic team that's there to seize the evidence a lot of times that's used to train the animals or treat the animals, right up to the handlers when they're brought off the yards themselves and into transport vehicles and transported usually to a temporary shelter. And in this case, it was a temporary shelter.
Sure feels a lot better, buddy, doesn't it?
Every dog reacts a little bit different. There are always a lot of dogs that are fearful. Keep in mind, many of these dogs have never had a loving hand. The encounters they've had with humans in the past are, feeding, watering, cleaning, and then pulling these dogs off to really prepare them for the fight. So there certainly are dogs that are fearful of humans. But overwhelmingly, what we see is a very friendly and excited and loving reaction from these dogs, which has always been, amazing to me, and I think, really speaks to the breed. That they can go through, all of this torture, but yet still, be, loving and trusting of humans. You ready to get out of here? Yeah. Oh.
Who is that? Who is that? Is that your baby? Is that your baby? Oh, you just want some attention, don't you? You just want some attention.
You see all the scarring from fighting.
This particular dog fighter even had the 3 and 4 month old puppies out on chains already, getting them used to that activity, getting them used to seeing their adult dogs on a chain and being aggressive, getting used to that environment, the dog fighting environment, which they were destined at that time to live their life throughout a chain, except when they're taken off to fight or train.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Huh? How's that feel?
Yeah.
How's that feel?
We usually have dogs away from the area where they were seized, because those dogs are valuable to the dog fighters. In cases where dog fighters have broken into shelters, rescues, and got their dogs back, because again, they're to that dog fighter, they're of value. People involved in dogfighting come from all walks of life. We've investigated and arrested school teachers, school football coaches, veterinarians, vet techs, trans, all racial. There's no stereotype, if you will.
There are dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars involved in illegal animal fighting ventures, whether that be from the gambling, from the breeding. It's big money, which draws in a lot of different types of individuals.
Getting the champion dog, the dog that's 1-3, producing puppies off that dog, which are going to be, cost, up to thousands of dollars for a puppy.
Once they're in our ASPCA shelter, then it's a team of medical professionals, examining and treating whatever issues exist. These medical conditions and the poor body condition is just neglect. It's lack of, proper care for these animals, mainly because these animals are, these dogs are a product, and as we see in puppy mills, there's not going to be an investment in this animal's well-being or happiness, because the intent really is just to use the dog to fight and to hopefully make money for you, but they're always discarded at the end. A lot of the dogs that are associated with organized dog fighting, these are dogs that are bred and trained, to be aggressive to other animals, and sometimes are not safe to place in a home. But beyond that, we see dogs that are looking any social skills. And as we begin working with them in our shelters and really trying to prepare them for the next chapter in our life, we begin to really see how remarkable many of these dogs are. Some of the behaviors, behavior challenges that they have, these dogs are able to pick those things up rather quickly and really improve in their behaviors and get prepared